Post-World Series, Game 5 style. Thanks for coming back with us, Paul Burmeister, alongside former Marlins president David Samson. David, what a game. In the end, to you, what made the difference?
Well, the difference was the Houston bullpen. They gave, but they didn't break. Montero gave up a run, and you don't see that too often, but Philadelphia simply could not get the offense going. Let's go back to the very beginning of this game. Unbelievable what happens. Noah Syndergaard, remember, he's starting, not Zach Wheeler. Noah Syndergaard gives up a double to Altuve to start the game, but an immediate error, and he's on third base, no outs. What does Rob Thompson do? In Game 5, series tied at 2, he brings his infield in, and then Jeremy Pena does a ground ball that would have been an easy 6-3, and all of a sudden it's 1-0, and the game had barely started. That shows a little bit of panic, and that is obviously not what you want to do by thinking your offense is not going to score. And then Jeremy Pena gives them the lead 2-1 with this home run. Justin Verlander gets his first World Series victory, and that is the biggest takeaway, but it happened so many hours ago that no one's talking about it. Tremendous for Verlander. Very, very close game. So much to break down.
Yeah, let's get back to Verlander because, I mean, I'm chuckling. You mentioned it. It's been a couple hours since he was out there, but that was the story we led with because he was the best pitcher in baseball in the regular season, but this was his 9th World Series start, still looking for his first win. You thought early he was having a hard time with his fastball. Where did it go from there?
Yeah, so he gets a 1-0 lead in the first inning, and he immediately gives up a home run to Kyle Schwarber. Lead off in the bottom of the first. All of the work done to get the 1-0 lead goes away. And then he was not able to locate his fastball. His breaking ball he was throwing for strikes, but when you're not throwing your fastball for strikes, you're going to walk people, and he walked 4 batters for the first time this year. So a lot of traffic on the bases, but Philly could not get the big hit off Verlander. And that's the theme of this game with the pitching. They would bend, but they would not break. Verlander goes 5 innings, which for a workhorse like Verlander, you'd like to see him go 6 or 7, but hey, it's 2022. You go 5 and dive, and all of a sudden, that's a $40 million player. So Verlander's out in the 5th inning, having still with the lead 2-1. And then the bullpen takes over, and you get to go to Neris and Montero and Presley. But Presley had to work extra hard, but it all is good.
Very good. If you like the Astros heading back home with that 3-2 lead in the World Series. Verlander for just a little bit more because he was such a story coming in. What part of his game impressed you the most? How his off-speed was on the entire night, or how he was able to struggle with the fastball and then find a way to have it be a strength again as the game went on?
You know, when you're an ace, if you're going to get to an ace, you get to an ace early. And that is what Philly did right off the bat with Schwarber, but then they simply could not go through. And Verlander knows, he's a veteran. He knows that he's going to find out which pitches. What they're doing in the beginning, these pitchers, they're getting a feel for what's working. What do they have in their arsenal? And as the innings go on, Verlander actually had everything. He had the breaking stuff, and he started throwing fastballs for strikes, and he gets 5 innings. But his pitch count was getting close to 100, and that forced Dusty Baker to make a move. And the problem when you go to your bullpen, and the Astros have a lights-out bullpen, is you need everyone to be on in order to win a game. And this was a tight game. And Montero was the only one in the bullpen who was not on, but Presley was able to come in and get the 5-out save.
Yeah, Presley, you took me right where I want to go because he gets up in the 8th inning. They don't want to use him that early. You said that to me like they don't want to use him right now, but they're getting more in the 8th inning. Take us from there with how his night played out from the 8th on.
Remember, he threw a bunch of pitches yesterday, and he comes back today, but there's an off day tomorrow, so you're very happy to use your closer. You've got to use your closer. And he needed very good defense. What are we looking at? That's Mancini. Can't get a hit. If you can't get a hit, you've got to not bring that to the field. And he's an injury replacement for Gurriel, who got kneed in the head in that rundown between third and home. He comes into play first and makes that unbelievable pick at first base to end the inning. That's the type of defense that you need. The Phillies defense was decent, but the Houston Astros defense was on point. And if you're going to win a World Series and be a dynasty, you got to get the starting pitching, the bullpen, the defense, and offense, and a tight game, 3-2.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, as David just mentioned, 3-2 the final in Game 5 in Philly. Houston wins for the second night in a row. They'll go back to Houston for Game 6, leading the Phillies in the World Series 3-2. Okay, so a lot of credit Justin Verlander and the Astros pitchers. A lot of credit to their defense, as you mentioned. How much of this loss, though, the second loss in a row for the Phillies, is on their offense in the top of the order? That they averaged 6 runs per game the first 3. No hit yesterday, only 2 runs tonight.
So when you're no hit, this was a big question going into this game, is how would they respond? And they respond, they're down 1-0. Schwarber has a leadoff home run. You're thinking, wow, they're responding. It looks like we're back to normal with Philadelphia, where they score 7 runs a game. But then it was crickets. They could not get the big hit. They could not get the offense going. They finally scored a run on a Segura hit to make it 3-2, which brings the tying run to the plate, which brings then the winning run to the plate when Harper gets hit by pitch. But the bottom line is, in the last 2 games in Philadelphia, think about the total runs. No hit yesterday, 2 runs today. That's 2 runs in the final 18 innings, and they lost the series. This was a 3-game series in Philadelphia, and they needed to just win 2 out of 3 to go back to Houston up 3-2. But the Astros on the road win 2 out of 3, so they go home with a 3-2 advantage and have to win 1 out of the final 2 games, and they've got their best pitcher going in Game 6, Framber Valdez.
You're thinking about Philadelphia not scoring runs, as you were talking about. My mind goes to, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd inning. They had back-to-back innings early against Verlander where they had runners at least on second. They had the bases loaded at one point and didn't get any runs in those innings. So let's bring this to making money and the possibility of making money over the next few days. Philadelphia plus 450 right now to winning the entire series. They're down 3-2. Any value to betting Philly right now?
So it's very hard to go on the road. So in 2003, we were down 3-2 in the championship series, and we were going on the road to face Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. The odds were, I can't even imagine. I would say plus 800 it should have been for the Marlins, and we won Game 6 and won Game 7 and went on to win the World Series. So you can go on the road and win 2 in a row, but 450, that's not enough value, because you're talking about a team, the Houston Astros today are way better than the Yankees were in 2003, way better than the Cubs were in 2003. This Astros team is going for dynasty status. And look at their pitching. It's perfectly lined up. They're going to have McCullers, if they need him in Game 7, backed up by the pitcher who combined with the no-hitter Javier yesterday. So for me, the advantage is very squarely on the Astros, and I would not lay money on the Phillies, especially because I told you the Astros would win the series in 6, and that's exactly what they're lined up to do come Saturday night.
I have been listening to you. I listened to you before the game tonight. As we sat here, you said that Houston would win tonight. They will win in 6. I've heard you the last week say that. And one of the reasons, I know you don't love the Phillies defense, and that showed up in a negative way for them tonight, in a way that they kind of been able to hide in the games coming in.
Yeah, there's no question. So the reason it's been hidden very well is Castellanos in right field, who is a mediocre defensive player at best, has made some incredible defensive plays, looking like a Gold Glover. So you may say to yourself, wow, this Phillies defense is doing well. But at the end of the day, little things matter. Missing the cutoff guy, committing an error and letting someone get to third like they did in the first inning. Not getting the right break on the ball. Brandon Marsh, center field, he did not get a good break. He paused. It's hard in center field when the ball's hit at you, but those are plays you've got to make if you're going to be a plus defensive team. And he was actually brought in at the deadline to be a better defensive center fielder. So these little things add up. And in a 3-2 game, if you don't get everything right, you're not going to win those games. And that's what happened to Philadelphia tonight.
3-2 game in Philadelphia, going for Houston tonight. 3-2 series now, heading back to Houston. Your expectations, Game 6 for Zach Wheeler now?
So this off day is critical. Let me just start with that and tell you that it's a travel day tomorrow. And remember, with the rainout that happened, they moved everything back by a day. So today was supposed to be the off day, but it ended up being Game 5. Now we head into Game 6. The reason why Zach Wheeler is pitching is he needed an extra day, claiming fatigue. Does that remind you of Max Scherzer in the World Series? When you have arm fatigue, the extra day does not matter. There is no reason to not have pitched him in Game 5 unless there's something going on. Not just fatigue, but maybe a little soreness. Something that means that Zach Wheeler is not the Zach Wheeler who we've seen throughout this postseason. And anything short of perfection with Zach is trouble for Philadelphia, because here's who is close to perfect. Valdez, the #1 starter, not Verlander, not Javier, even though the stats, 1 game to win, I want Valdez. Lastly, the mentality of a Game 6 when you're up 3-2. You are managing that to win the series. Dusty Baker does not want to go to a Game 7. He doesn't want to take that chance. He will manage Game 6 because he wants to end it in Game 6, so he'll manage it like a Game 7. That's what's going to be so exciting, watching him with Valdez and then going to that bullpen for one final time. And you're going to see Ryan Presley take the ball, and he'll be the one pitching for the final out when they clinch the World Series Saturday night.
And Presley played a big role in the win tonight. The Astros win for a second night in a row. They take a 3-2 commanding lead in the series to Houston for Game 6, and we shall see maybe Game 7. Thanks to David Samson. If you want more from David, you can check out his podcast, Nothing Personal. He delivers a unique take on sports from both a fan perspective and a front office perspective. Makes you smarter. It's both entertaining and engaging. You can also watch on YouTube. Nothing Personal with David Samson. Download and subscribe today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.